Hi folks, Dick Kaufman here, Brother Neuro, and we are here at the Odeon in Dudley, where we are going to see the cinematic moment of a generation, really. My last video was about Peter Andre's new movie. I can't believe I'm saying these words, Jafaican, and I did, and he said, don't judge it until you've seen it. Well, tonight we are going to go and see it. That is, I'm not here alone. I've got a partner in crime. We're going to have to also, have our faces seen as we go in and show our tickets. So there's been an argument about that already, but we're going to give this a watch, and then and then after then I will tell you what I think after we're done. Hello, everyone. Well, that was an experience. A few things just to say before I get into the full review. I'm not going to do too many in-depth spoilers here. I would not want to ruin this for you. That would be a shame. But just a reminder, I am going to be... I'm currently working on a very, very long, in-depth, deep dive review of Freddie Nowaka's previous movie to this one, which is another race swap movie called On the Other Foot. And so if you want to see that before it goes up on here, you can go to my Patreon, support me on there, and you'll see it, and it will be uploaded up here in a couple of weeks or so. However, it seems that the race swap element is something that Freddie Nowaka is going to be making his thing going forward. More on that at the end of the video. We got there and there were about, I'd say, 20 people. This was not the only screening happening. This was happening in every Odeon all over the UK. If you don't want, and to make sure that nobody there recognised our faces, me and my girlfriend sat in the front row. This is a picture just to prove it. You can see me there. Very, very happy. That was the biggest smile anyone had on their face in that cinema. The one thing I need to sort of point out, and this is a bit cheeky, if you saw my post on my community tab and on Facebook or whatever, one of the things I was most excited about going to this was Q&A. It was advertised as the Jafaican movie followed by a Q&A. And when you hear Q&A, you think, oh, questions from the audience, answers from the performers. But it wasn't a live Q&A. It was a pre-recorded Q&A. Not only was it a pre-recorded Q&A, it was one that was on YouTube. It was uploaded over 2 weeks ago. That was a massive disappointment because I had questions lined up that I was thinking of if we got a chance. That's why we booked our tickets. Oh, fuck. Now, I will say this. I was laughing through a lot of the film. So much so that it actually started annoying all of the people behind us because neither of us were actually laughing at any of the moments in the film where you're supposed to laugh. We were laughing at everything else. And our first big laugh happened within 1 second of the movie starting. In my previous video on Jafaican, Freddie Nowaka in an interview talked about how Pete came in for the audition and there were like 15 other people and Pete just smashed it out the fucking park. Well, one of the first things you see is you see all of the opening credits, and one thing you see is Andre Films presents, and then you see executive producer Peter Andre. So it's kind of difficult to believe that this is the reason. Peter Andre smashed it out of the park, and then suddenly he coincidentally is he's the executive producer, and he has a film company, which by all accounts, from what I can fucking figure out, he set up just to make this fucking movie. He has had a production company, but he used it to produce his own reality TV show. Apparently, Peter Andre, all he does these days is make production companies to make TV shows and films that he's in that no one else is gonna fucking watch. First of all, the film spoils itself, because it starts after the main story has ended. And the story is this guy, criminal gang, I don't even know what he's supposed to fucking be, right? But he's this kind of wheeling, dealing, gang, criminal kind of guy. You're first introduced to him being a criminal, scoping out a museum, because they're going to break in to steal stuff from this museum. I don't know why you would scope out a museum, most of which are free to go into at night time. You could just go there during the day, and he has this brilliant line where he looks at the other guy and says, I'll tell you what, some of the stuff in that museum is probably worth a lot of money. Yeah, no fucking shit, that's why it's in a museum. Well, what are you going to do with it? You're going to sell dinosaur bones? On the dark web. He's got his nan. His nan is who's got dementia. The acting by the old woman who's got dementia is fucking porn levels fantastic. She's going to be kicked out of her nursing home in 3 weeks' time unless he gets £35,000. And that's the sort of crux, that's the sort of supposed to be the emotional catalyst for it. But it's completely irrelevant. In fact, the first half of the film really is centred around this. And it's really fucking pointless because we know from the start of the film that he's already fucking got the money. The other problem with this film is, again, the fact that the whole movie is a flashback is then made further difficult by the fact that there are flashbacks within the flashback. And then sometimes, on a couple of occasions, there are flashbacks within the flashbacks within the flashback. So then when it cuts back to the next bit, you don't know, is this the previous flashback? It's so incoherent. And every joke that's in these films, and it's not just this film, Freddie Nwaka's other films that I've watched, like, you can tell this is a guy who, like, whose sense of humour has not moved on for 30 years. Because every joke they do is basically a joke that you have seen done in a previous film that is at least 20 or 30 years old, and it was a good film and they did the joke better. And we need to stay focused on this first of all. Peter Andre. I would love to see the audition tapes from the 15 other people who failed beyond Peter Andre, because Peter Andre is not a good actor. He's got no fucking... He's so wooden and awkward, and even if he was any good, it's very difficult when you've got dialogue and stories that are this fucking bad, the jokes that are this badly written. It's very... he really can't do it. And there's little mistakes as well, or little weird things that don't make sense. At one point he tries to get the money. He goes to a card game. He goes into this card game, which is in this grotty, run-down flat, where what we're supposed to believe, like, these big time gangsters live. There's mould on the fucking wall. But this gangster lets him in, and he's like, £1,000 minimum to play this card game, and he just goes, yeah, I got it, and he hasn't. So I'm supposed to believe that these gangsters don't check that people have got the money. And then he's playing a game of cards, and he's got, all the other players have got 5 cards in their hand, apart from Peter Andre, who's got 3. Now, I don't play a lot of poker, but I know that there's no version of poker where you just pick, where you just don't go round in a circle, you just pick 3 cards up. And he's sat there looking worried. He's got 4 cards and he's looking worried and scared. And then he gets another card, and he turns out he's got 3 queens and 2 aces. So why was he worried when he had 4 cards? Because he must have at least had 3 of a kind, or 2 very high pairs. So why was he looking worried then? When we went into this movie, the 2 of the biggest points that Freddie Nwaka made about this film was that this film has got Oliver Samuels, who is a Jamaican comedy legend, and Sizzler, who I know nothing about other than the fact that he's a rampant homophobe who thinks gay people should be killed. Between them, they are in this film for barely, like, 5 minutes. Sizzler's scene isn't even a scene. He's just sat there. It's almost like it's so difficult to make out what's going on because he's not speaking very loudly. They clearly didn't have a script. I think they even admit in the Q&A that was totally improvised. So this whole sort of selling point, and Sizzler gets like 3rd billing on the fucking credits list. He gets 3rd billing. Apparently in an interview, Oliver Samuels said that he was never sent a copy of the full script. He was only sent the bits that he was in, and outside of that, he didn't know anything about the fucking movie. The other argument going into this film was like about whether or not it was blackface. Technically, I suppose you could say it isn't. But it's really difficult to tell because the character that Peter is playing he's got black kids, he's got a black wife, and his father and his parents are black as well. And even in the film, when he's trying to sort of like convince people to help him, they're saying, You're never gonna pass for a Jamaican black man. And Peter Andre says, listen, there are white people in Jamaica. And it's like, it doesn't matter whether there's white people in Jamaica. You're not pretending to be Jamaican full stop. You're pretending to be a specific Jamaican guy. Also, we talk about Peter Andre appropriating Jamaican culture. Let's talk about the fact that he can't even do a Cockney accent. He's supposed to be an East End gangster, but he can't even do a fucking Cockney accent. He sounds like Peter Andre. There are things in the film that don't help, in terms of like presentation of black people, and one of them is the fact that once you get your first Jamaican characters come in, all the Jamaican characters have subtitles. As soon as the first Jamaican guy comes in and he's talking to Peter, his dialogue is subtitled, even though it's very easy to understand what he's fucking saying. Again, this reminded me of the scene from Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, another film that's nearly 30 fucking years old. This reminded me of the scene where the barman is speaking in Cockney rhyming slang, and they've got subtitles for that. Now, it worked there, because you genuinely don't understand what the guy's saying. When Sizzler is having his scene with Peter Andre, they're so desperate for you to know that Sizzler is in this fucking movie, they put Sizzler in caps, like, with and then his dialogue. At one point, however, they use the terms, obviously, bumberclot and bloodclot. When they start using the word bloodclot, they put in parentheses swearing, so that you know that bloodclot is a swear word, is a derogatory curse word. But they do it every fucking scene, every time someone says it. And then at one point, I swear to God, they misspelled bloodclot, and they put it bloodcloth. Freddie Nowaka swears that Peter Andre had a dialect coach. I have my doubts. Now, maybe he did, and Peter Andre didn't take to it very well. The whole point of the film is that Peter Andre decided he's going to go to Jamaica, and the idea is that this gangster in Jamaica looks just like Peter Andre. He looks just like I'm not even using his character name. He looks just like him. And he's got to sign, his father's died, and he's got to sign a will, and he gets all this money. It's like 3 million or whatever. And so the idea is he's got to go there and pretend to be this guy. Now, this gangster is in prison, but he's due out very soon. And so Peter Andre decides, first of all, to try and learn Jamaican from a homeless man who's called something like Smelly Barry or whatever, which is a great representation there of Jamaicans living in London. There's all these Jamaican... I don't know why he chose a homeless guy in the fucking street, but he ends up meeting this guy who is a key figure in the film. I think his name's Winston, and he decides he's going to teach Peter Andre to be Jamaican. And he says these words. He says, patois is not just an accent, it's a way of life. And you think that this is going to be the moment, like the sort of big sort of centre part of the film, where Peter Andre goes on this journey of learning all about Jamaican culture and history and, you know, music and everything. No, it doesn't, right? What you get is a 5-minute segment where Peter Andre, first of all, is sent out on a mission to go to a market in London and buy a plantain, which he doesn't even do, because he goes there to a Jamaican food stall, picks up a plantain and goes, is that a banana? And they go, no, it's a plantain. He goes, nah, that's a banana, and puts it down. And then we get a few minutes of him walking around his living room trying to say the word wagwan, right? Something that I've been hearing white boys say in general conversation for 20 years. But he's just going, wagwan, wagwan, wagwan. A couple of days goes by and he's off. He's off to Jamaica. Now, this is the problem with the film, is that the selling point of the film is he's got 21 days to learn to be Jamaican or die trying. But he doesn't have 21 days. He has about 5. He has 21 days until his nan is kicked out. And so he goes to Jamaica. He's got that fucking awful wig on. Every scene, they are in the worst fucking parts of Jamaica. They're in all of these fucking back alleys, and fucking everyone in it is a fucking gangster or a criminal. But Freddie Nowaka has made a big deal about the fact that, this film is like, you know, you should go to Jamaica. It's a great place. We wanted to showcase you. You aren't showcasing anything great about fucking Jamaica. There is one moment in the film that I thought was funny, and it was the only moment me and my girlfriend thought was fun, and that is when Peter Andre goes to a nightclub. It's like a rhythm dance hall nightclub, and he goes there and he's dancing away, and he starts doing what, if you remember the Mysterious Girl video, he starts doing the Mysterious Girl dances, and there's a woman off to the side looking at him goes, what's wrong with Denton? Nobody dances like that anymore. That's it. But that's not even like a relevant, that's like a sort of, that's funny to us because we got the reference. It's a bit self-deprecating, but if you're under the age of 45, you're probably going to struggle to fucking get that fucking joke. Now, Denton, the character that the guy Peter Andre is pretending to be. Now, this again is another point that will not help them in the was this or was this not blackface stuff. Because he's got this black textured afro dreadlocked wig. Peter Andre does not use his own voice. He is dubbed over very, very badly. Like one of those really old cliche fucking Japanese or kung fu movies that you remember seeing that were dubbed over, clearly using a black man's voice. If Peter Andre had some range maybe. Like, he could do 2 different fucking voices. That could have been avoided. We end up back where we were at the start of the film, where he's got the money. However, there is a twist. The twist at the end is that the whole thing that happened was a big plan and a scheme by the character Winston. It was all a big plot that this guy wanted to run away and fake his own death. And the problem with it is that it takes a film that was already, it was just bad, but it had some vaguely coherent narrative, to being a film that is now bad and makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's a twist for the sake of having a twist. You don't sit there and go, oh, I should have seen that coming. But you don't. You just sit there and think, well, that's fucking stupid. The other thing is, and this just really goes to show how self-indulgent this is, the film ends with a narrative. I think it's Winston, the character, doing the narrative. But the line at the end is, or a man who is filled with love is a man who can change. And then it has that, as it backs away at the end, with Peter Andre looking out into Jamaica, the quote appears on the screen. A man who is full of love is a man who can change. And whose quote is that? Freddie Nwaka. He put his own fucking quote at the end with his own fucking name on it. There was another guy in the movie whose name was Culture. But unfortunately he died. And I'm not going to make fun of the fact this guy died. It did lead to an unintentionally hilarious moment where, as the credits are rolled, it just said at the end, as a tribute to him, R.I.P. Culture. And I just thought, damn fucking right this is. Yes, this is the end of fucking culture as we know it. There's also, and this is the worrying part, there is a scene at the end, and they confirmed this in the Q&A. There is a scene at the end where one of Peter Andre's mates is on the phone to him after the credits have rolled, and he sat there going, Gary, Gaz, I've got another job for you, and he's wearing a sombrero. And the funny thing is, 2 weeks ago, before we went and saw this film, I made a joke. They're going to do a film where he pretends to be Mexican, and it's going to be called Mexicant. And apparently, I was fucking right. Like, I saw that. So now they're stealing my jokes, and they don't even know I've made them. And I just think that this is now the rest of Peter Andre and Freddie Nwaka's career. They're just going to do every race swap they possibly fucking can. It's going to be in a couple of years' time, we're going to have Peter Andre in Ching Chong Chinaman, right? This is the way it's going to fucking go. The Q&A was really a nothing. Freddie Nwaka really exposes that he was so full of shit in other interviews. Because in the previous interview, the one on my previous video, he said that, the reason it was in Jamaica was just it was like there was no reason for it. It just so happened to be in Jamaica. But in this interview, he said that, when I was a kid, I was a Jafaican. I would go home to my Nigerian family and be Jafaican, which is weird because I've read somewhere that Freddie Nwaka was adopted by white people when he was a kid. Now, maybe that's not true, but if it is, it's like there's so many levels of bullshit there. Peter Andre said, this was the best thing I've ever done. And then he quickly backtracked and said, in terms of an experience. A fucking holiday to Jamaica sounds great, right? That sounds like a brilliant fucking idea. But it's objectively not the best thing he's ever done. And the best thing he's ever done is not great. And that's it. As in terms of the fun I had being there, because I obviously enjoy watching bad shit like this. If you like bad films, this is a lot of fun. In that regard, I would give it a 5 out of 10. In terms of a film, you really can't go higher than 2. It's like the acting is bad, the jokes are a hack or just 20, 30 years old. I'm sure they had a great time. It's one of these films that has bloopers at the end in the credits. And bloopers in the ends at the credits for me is always an indication of a film where everyone's saying, well, we had a laugh. And I'm sure that in their minds, they probably think this is hilarious. And do you know what? Fair play to them. I'm not gonna yuck their yum, whatever the fuck. It's a terrible film. And for that reason, I would say, you don't need to get too worked up about it. If you're someone who's worked yourself, who's like offended by this, you have every right to be, right? But don't worry too much about it, because this film is so terrible on so many levels that it doesn't fucking matter. And I'm sure and now the film's died out, and in a couple of years' time, we'll have Peter Andre pretending to be a fucking Mexican. That'll be that. And then we'll have another one, and then, it'll all start again. That's the film. Like I said, I've spent too long talking about Peter Andre now. I've got a little bit more to go because he does start in On the Other Foot. He has a very small fucking role in it. So other than that, thank you for watching. My name's Dick Coughlin, Brother Neuro. Support me on Patreon if you want to see the On the Other Foot review when it comes out. Subscribe, comment, like, blah blah, all that nonsense. And yeah,